Good afternoon. I would like to start this press conference by first finding out which media outlets are on with us today. We are doing this virtually from the studios here at WQLN, but we know we have many media outlets on with us, so I would like to ask, is Jet 24 on?
Yeah, hi Kathy, it's Samir with Jet 24.
Thank you, Samir. How about Erie News Now? Are you on with us? Erie Times News?
Yes, Kathy, this is Ron Leonardi.
Thank you, Ron.
And Kathy, it's David Bruce. I'm here too.
Okay, thank you. Do we have Erie Talk Radio on?
Yes, Kathy, this is Joel Natale.
Again, we are standing by for a news conference from Kathy Dahlkemper. In the meantime, we're going to go back.
Lisa, I think
and we'll come back to
Lisa Adams, I believe, is on. I can hear her in the background. Is there any other media outlet that's on with us today?
Pushed back by the presidential news conference.
Okay. Lisa is on. There. All right, well, good afternoon. We want to try to do a daily update here from the QLN studios where we can keep our social distancing but yet be accessible to our media outlets and also get the news out to the people of Erie County as it happens. So today, unfortunately, I'm announcing that we've had our second positive case of COVID-19 here in Erie County. This individual is in their early 30s. So both of our positive cases are younger people in our community. This person is not sick in the hospital, but is quarantined at home. And we expect that this individual will have a full recovery from COVID-19. This individual did travel away from Erie County. This person was on a cruise and also traveled to other parts of the United States. So because of the travel that both of these positive cases were engaged in prior to diagnosis, we believe we are still not seeing community spread of the virus here in Erie County, but that they contracted COVID-19 while away from the county. And I think this just goes to show if people would stop traveling and stay in Erie County and also continue to social distance, as we've been asking, and so many people are doing so great at, that we can control the spread of this here in Erie County and keep our numbers very, very low as they are right now. We're in a unique position right now in Erie County with our numbers as low as they are. We again think we can do a lot to mitigate and to stop the spread of the virus if people continue to help us as they are. I want to say also that as I'm looking across the state, sadly, this morning it was revealed that Allegheny County, just to the south of us, and many of us have connections in Allegheny County, is reporting the second death from the COVID-19 virus here in Pennsylvania. And Allegheny County, according to the state's Department of Health website, has 31 positive cases, again, with one death. And if you look to the southeast, I think it's just important to note that we have counties, Montgomery County is now at 71, Philadelphia is now at 69, Delaware County is at 33, as I mentioned, Allegheny at 31, and then other counties numerous below that. But total in the state is 372 positive cases. So our numbers are continuing to grow in Pennsylvania, hence why Governor Wolf has asked all of our non-life sustaining businesses to close their doors to the public and to send their employees home. And so to that, I want to have with me, speaking in just a minute here, is our environmental branch director of our Emergency Operations Center for the COVID-19 pandemic, Karen Tobin. Many of you may remember Karen. She ran our environmental division. She was the director of that at the County Department of Health for many years. She retired, but I am very, very grateful, as is our whole team, that Karen was willing to come out of retirement and help us during this very, very difficult and challenging time. So I'm going to have Karen come up and talk about how we are trying to assist our businesses in this directive that was put forward by Governor Wolf. Karen?
Thank you, Kathy. I would like to use my time to really explain what some of the other staff at the health department have been so busy with. We have been taking phone calls from the public and from businesses, trying to work with them to try to get them to be able to operate safely if they're an essential business, how to protect themselves, their workers, and the public, and how they can comply with the governor's orders. If they are an essential service that has been allowed to remain open, our focus is definitely safety. Other items that you've heard about on the news, of course, are social distancing. The facilities and the businesses open should be cleaning and sanitizing all surfaces and equipment. They should be focusing on thorough hand washing and using hand sanitizer. No workers with any symptoms of illness should be allowed to be working. One of the main focuses and problems we're seeing is crowd control, so we're asking for the public's help and the businesses' help with focusing on crowd control. Businesses are not allowed to be participating in any event right now that encourages crowd gathering or the forming of long lines where people are waiting closely in line. They need to be limiting the number of customers and visitors into their business at a time, and can have an employee monitor the visitors, stressing that social distancing. I'd like to specifically address some of the food facilities that we have open, both restaurants and grocery stores. First of all, we greatly appreciate everything that you're doing. You are keeping all of the rest of us going with providing food for us. For restaurants, please focus on drive-through, curbside pickup, and delivery to limit as much as possible contact with customers. When possible, take all payments over the phone, so there's very limited handling of any money or the processing of any credit cards. For businesses that have carry-out food available, please limit the number of customers in your lobby or in your restaurant at any one time. You can do that by posting signs. You can post your phone number on the outside of the building, so when customers arrive for their pickup, they can call you and tell you that they're sitting out front, and you can just drop off the food to them or hand it out the front door. We're seeing people get very creative at their businesses to help with this. The public can do things like stagger your mealtime. Let's not have everybody go to the restaurants to pick up their lunch at noon and go to dinner at 6 o'clock. Try to stagger those times so that people are not gathering at one time and we're spreading out the crowds over the course of the day. Normally, we do not allow restaurants or grocery stores to keep their doors propped open, especially in the summertime, because we might be worried about insect control. But it's still cold enough now that our restaurants that have delivery or carry out can keep their front doors open so that customers who are entering do not have to be touching and contacting the doors. Employees can stop the customers at the door again, ask for their name and that the order is under, and hand the delivery out to that individual. For food trucks and places that have takeout only, again, no seating is permitted inside or outside, and crowds somehow must be controlled so that people don't gather once they have their food. If a business wants to have a one-day special or a certain meal they want to promote or a food giveaway, that's excellent. However, it needs to be done safely, and we really want to see that either spread out over the course of the day, so have the special all day long, again, to limit the crowds, or have drive-through only, so that people do not get out of their cars and they don't come into your business. You can hand the food to them, put it in their back seat, or put it in their trunk so there's less contact. For the grocery stores, please limit your customers and don't allow them to stand in a long line in the morning waiting for you to open. Take some type of action so that they're not in a big line. Have employees out there stressing that they stand 6 feet apart. You can put tape or paint some dots on the ground so that they stand 6 feet apart while they're waiting. Other businesses are setting time frames throughout the day for different age groups of individuals. Some are going alphabetical. So by your last name, they set alphabetical times, and that's the window that you can go shopping at certain stores. You can also, in the grocery store, direct the flow of traffic. So put arrows or tape on the ground that shows every aisle people are only going one direction so they aren't crisscrossing each other all of the time. Make customers stay back from each other while they're at checkout. So nobody should be in the conveyor belt line, no two people at a time. When one customer processes through, then the next individual can come up in line. Sanitize the conveyor belts in between customers and any card swipe machines. Some facilities aren't sure if they should be open or not. We are helping with that. They should be, if they feel that they should be open and they're on the governor's list of non-essential businesses, then they should be applying for a waiver to stay open. The waiver, once it's obtained, should be posted in the window of your business so that we know that you've obtained the waiver and so that the customers know that you've obtained the waiver. Again, somewhere prominent in the front of your facility, whether that's an email approval, whether it's a certificate that they send out, whatever you obtain for that waiver, post it clearly. The governor did postpone enforcement of his order. It was to begin last night at midnight. That has been extended until Monday morning at 8 o'clock. I've been working with a team of law enforcement and the Environmental Division staff to prepare for enforcement. We've developed a protocol and are ready to respond to any individuals or businesses that are non-compliant with the governor's orders on Monday. For anybody who has questions and just is concerned or really wants to know how they can operate their food business safely and wants to talk about these specific tips that we have for them, can certainly call us at the health department at our main line, 451-6700. We have 4 staff that are manning our environmental phones at all times. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And I think listening to Karen, everyone realizes why we are so grateful that she has been willing to come back and help our community during this time. I'm now going to open it up to the press for questions, and I will start with Jet 24.
Hey, Kathy, Samir. So I guess, is there any more you can tell us about this second case of COVID-19? Is it related in any way to that first case that we had here in Erie?
So the individual that has now tested positive traveled outside of Erie County. It is believed that the contraction of the virus most likely occurred while that person was traveling outside of Erie County.
Do you know where they went? Are you able to disclose that?
They traveled to other places in the United States that have a much larger cases of COVID than we do, and they also went on a cruise. I don't know the location of the cruise, and I don't know the location of where they went.
How long, I guess, were they in Erie County before they tested positive for COVID-19?
I don't have those details, but my understanding is once this person started feeling ill, they have been basically quarantined at home until they got tested. And they were tested at the newly opened testing site of Allegheny Health Network. And one of the great things was the tests came back very quickly because, as we know, that just opened yesterday. And we had these test results back already this morning, late this morning, I believe. And so this is going to be a great new tool for us as we are looking to try to identify those who may be carrying the virus. And I know that UPMC will be opening up their facility within the next couple days, I believe. So I want to thank our partners out there, Allegheny Health Network and UPMC Hammett, for their diligence in trying to get these sites up and going. And now I'd like to open up for a question. I'd like to, Samir, I'll come back to you. I'd like to open up for a question from Erie News Now, please. Erie News Now, do you have a question?
Rachel,
This is Kathy Dahlkemper.
if Rachel Namey isn't there, this is Lisa Adams. So the second test you said happened through the AHN drive-through facility,
Yes.
and that person traveled on a cruise.
The person is, what we were informed of is the person left Erie County and went on a cruise and also traveled to somewhere else in the United States. So it could have happened somewhere, but we believe it's happened somewhere outside of Erie County. We do not believe this is a community spread that we are seeing.
And did you give an age on the person and say much about how they're doing and where they are now?
The person is in their early 30s, and so I think that's important just for all of us to realize that younger people, as I've been mentioning, can often be the super spreaders, and they can also get the disease, because I know when this first started, a lot of people thought it would only hit the older population, but both of our positive cases have been in their 30s, and the person's doing better. They expect a full recovery. They are not in the hospital. They are at home recovering and staying quarantined.
And do you have any updated information on the Mercyhurst University quarantine there had been some anecdotal information that some students were continuing to move out of the dorms there, heading for home, even before they were supposed to. And then if they were supposed to stay on campus until the 21st, math-wise, that didn't add up to even like a 14-day quarantine if they were exposed to the student who went home on the 10th.
So the recommendation was that they stay there for a full 7 days beyond when the student was last there. And that's why the date of the 21st, which is today, was required that Mercyhurst keep those students on campus to see if any of them had symptoms. But we've had no further contact with Mercyhurst, as far as I'm aware, in the last couple days. So they complied with the request from the Erie County Department of Health personnel, and that's the last I know about that. I'd like to open it up to Erie Times News for a question.
Kathy, is the second COVID-19 case in Erie County. Can you tell us if it's a city or a county resident?
All I can tell you is that this person resides in Erie County, and of course we know the city of Erie is part of Erie County, but I don't know where they reside within Erie County.
Okay.
Erie Talk Radio, do you have any questions? And these
Yes, hi, Kathy. Do we have a number for the number of negatives today? Because that ratio of positive to negatives shows the amount of testing that we're doing.
I have a note here that we have received 30 negative results now, and we expect, as I said, many more test results now that the drive-through sites, the rapid testing sites, are getting up and running. I would also like to say, if anyone has any questions for Karen Tobin on the environmental piece, on the assistance with the governor's order, she's glad to answer those also. And I'll go back to Jet 24.
Yeah, hi. I'll go ahead and ask Karen a question. So, is the county going to enforce, like with the business stuff, are we enforcing differently than, I guess, the state is? Or how aggressive is the county going to be on this?
Beginning Monday, we will be really taking calls or complaints. If anybody knows or we hear of any kind of a business that is a non-essential business that's operating, we're going to start with giving them a call, explaining the governor's order, making sure they understand it and why it's so important that they not be operating, and then giving them a 1-hour window to settle their business and then close. For essential businesses, maybe it's just that they aren't operating as safely as we need to see, and so we'll work with them on how they can operate more safely. Then again, we'll go out and visit them in about an hour and make sure that they've made all the corrections. We're hoping that...
And then I guess, is there anything being implemented? I know you mentioned something about some places are having like a possibly alphabetical ways of coming in. Is the county going to enforce any mandate like that where like you're only allowing X amount of people into a facility?
Not at this time, because we really haven't been receiving a lot of complaints along those lines that it's a problem. So we're just going to have to wait and see how this is. Hopefully by all this information that we're getting out there, people are compliant, and I'm hoping that we really don't have any enforcement that we have to do starting on Monday.
I mean, we did just have issues like, not to throw anyone under the bus, but I know Sticks and Bricks as well as Lowe's, they're seeing people flood there. So I guess you're basically right now you're just asking people to not do that.
Correct. If we find out about a business where that happened, we have been calling them direct and giving them suggestions on what they personally can do so that that doesn't happen again. But we're also asking the public to not gather like that and not form those long lines.
Okay, now I'd like to go to Erie News Now. You have a question?
We're talking about businesses that are non-essential, not operating anymore, but they are allowed to operate remotely. And even though there are guidelines about not more than 10 people gathering together, even if an office is small, if they're in that non-essential category, they're done?
So if they can continue to operate remotely, they can certainly do that. No one's telling them they can't do that. But we don't want their employees, I should say the governor has ordered that their employees be sent home. I've mentioned that if you're the business owner and you want to be in your building certainly you have the right to be in there and you can do whatever you want inside that building. You just can't have your doors open to the public, and you can't have your employees having to show up for work. But if your employees are able to do work remotely and you can work with them and continue to operate, then that's great. I mean, obviously, we would love for businesses to all be able to do that, but we know many businesses don't obviously have the ability to do that because of the nature of their work. Erie Times News?
One question for Karen along the essence of what she was saying.
Okay, I'll let you go.
I think everyone all saw the irony of, we're shutting down the state stores and then people jammed into the state stores. And, some of the carry-out restaurants, people have been kind of close as they're picking things up. So just to make it clear what the guidelines are again for people for takeout restaurants and so on.
Sure. If they're doing takeout, there's a lot of different things that they can do. Any way they want to be creative to actually not have the crowd or the lines form. So they can, put signs with their phone number in the window so that customers, as they come, they can call, say, I'm outside, here's my name, my order that I placed, and then either the employees can come to the door and hand the order out the door so that people don't even come into their building, or they have the order ready at the counter, so when a customer walks in, it's a really quick turnaround time and they're right back out again. Limit the number of customers that are inside. If people start to form a line, have the employees say, all right, customers, please observe, social distancing, please spread out, something along those lines. Stagger meal times. Anything that they can do to try to spread out the time that people are coming to their facility would be great.
And then the second case in Erie County, are there a lot of people to follow up with that person came in contact with before they were tested yesterday?
So this report just came out late this morning, and we're still gathering the information of, who this individual might have come in contact with, so that those individuals can be notified, and they'll be notified by someone from the County Department of Health. So we're in the middle of that today. It's the work that the County Department of Health does and does really well. So they're in the middle of that. Erie Times News, do you have another question?
Kathy, it's David Bruce. I do have a question. Getting back to the tests, you said there were more tests done at the AHN Center yesterday. The problem I understand is that the number of swab kits available, not the number of locations. Do you understand? Are there a sufficient number of swab kits available now to the health systems here in Erie County that we can see a lot more testing in the next few days?
It's my understanding that they are going to be able to do significant testing. Remember, you have to have a doctor's order to go there. You just can't show up. So you need to have a doctor's order to go. But in terms of the specific number of test kits that they have, you would have to speak to the healthcare systems, to the providers for that. Those are not test kits that we provide in the Department of Health or from county government. So I would ask that you reach out to those two health systems to find out that answer. Erie Talk News? Or Erie Talk Radio?
Yeah, one more question, Kathy, regarding the allowed physical operations of food and beverage, beer, wine, and liquor stores, beer distributors to remain open. Do we know from the state, LCB, if they're going to reopen the state stores since under Homeland Security they should be allowed to be open?
We are still waiting for guidance from the state. Once the order came out from the governor, we were sent a list of businesses. It's actually up on the state's website. I know it's also on the DCED's website. They have revised that list at least once or twice already. I think they're still looking at some of those businesses, and so we're awaiting guidance from the state. But when it comes to establishments that have liquor, the enforcement and on that in terms of any kind of closures would actually come from the Liquor Control Board, which is something that they do on a regular basis and are very adept at doing. Does anyone have any further questions?
Yeah, hi, Kathy. Samir from JET. So this is going to be for Karen. So I guess, what about with businesses manufacturing like lab tech? Is that considered essential? Are we holding off, I guess, on the work being done there?
Sure. Actually, Kathy's going to answer that for you.
All right.
Samir, so on the original list and on the current list that we have, it would show that a manufacturing facility that manufactures the product that WabTech does here in Erie County would be non-essential. I know that they have applied for a waiver, so we again are just awaiting the state's decision on that, and I'm assuming whatever the state's decision is, that WabTech will comply if they need to close, and if they get a waiver, obviously they're going to be able to keep manufacturing.
All right, and then I have a follow-up. So I know yesterday when I was talking with you, you were saying social distancing and people not really taking that serious enough. So now that we obviously have a second confirmed case here in Erie County, is there anything else that I guess you're going to try to implement as this seems to be growing here in the county?
Again, both of these cases we believe came from people traveling. So my request today is to people to stop leaving Erie County. Stay in our beautiful county, stay where we only have 2 cases and we don't believe we have any community spread at this point, and stay distant from people that are not part of your household. So do what we've been asking you to, heed the directions of the professionals in our community, and I think we will see hopefully a very slow growth in our numbers and be one of those counties that gets through this in a much better fashion than maybe some of our neighbors to the south and east and even to the west. So again, many people are doing a great job with this. I did want to address one thing. I did talk to Mayor Schember this morning about the parks because I wanted some clarification from him. And the parks are still open for walking and jogging. You can take your family, for a hike into one of our beautiful parks. But what is closed are the structures. And you can think about that. If a child is holding on to a monkey bar and then another child comes and another, if one of those children had been exposed to COVID-19, that may be then on the surface and would be then transferred to the other child and now into that household. So the mayor made the decision to close the structures at the city parks, but if you want to walk through a park, you're still obviously welcome to do that. And we encourage people to get out. We encourage people the fresh air is good for you. As long as you stay 6 feet away from people, this virus is not passed through the air, it's passed through water droplets that would come out of someone's mouth, basically. And so if you're 6 feet away from someone and you greet them as you're walking and you can talk, but we're asking people to keep that distance. And to one of the other points that someone was asking about, we're also said people shouldn't be in any bigger group than 10, but even in that group of 10, people should be 6 feet apart. And unless it's your spouse or your child who you live in the house with, then you should be at least 10 feet apart. So we ask people to very much limit their gatherings anywhere, whether that's inside or outside, except for the people that you live with in your home.
Follow-up question as well to that. So I guess what about with like the non-essential businesses being closed right now, like for restaurants, obviously we have them open for the carry-out and delivery. But now that we have another confirmed case, do we see that extending further past, I believe this Friday it might have been lifted? So is that going to continue?
I think all this depends on where the numbers go. Right now we're seeing continual exponential increases across our nation, across our Commonwealth. The Southeast is being hit much, much harder than we have been in the Northwest here. But Allegheny County, as I mentioned, to the south of us has had a death, and they have over 30 cases. So we can do what we need to do here to contain the growth in our community and people, again, and I've said over and over again what we need people to do, and I cannot stress it enough. This is difficult. I know it is. There's a lot of ideas on the internet. There's a lot of ideas on social media about what you can do to keep busy, keep your children busy. I will go back to my number one. Please do the census. You have the time to do it. You can either do it online, or if you don't have a computer or the internet, you can actually pick up the phone and you can call the census number, and you can do it via touch-tone phone. So there are ways to complete the census, but be creative. It's now a good time to think about maybe some things you never have had the chance to do with your loved ones, whether it be your spouse, your parents, your children, and help your neighbors think of other things too. Stay connected to people in your life through social media. Do FaceTime or some other Skype, some way to see people's faces but not be in physical contact with them. If we all do this and we do it well, I can't predict when we can say everyone can be back out together again, but I know that we're going to save lives. We're going to save lives in our community, and that's what this is all about, saving lives and making our community a place where people show they care about each other and do the right thing. Any final question from anyone? I'll give the others a chance if you have another question. Well, with that, I want to thank you for joining me today. Thank you again to our media for informing our public and allowing me the opportunity to speak to the people of Erie County. Please stay home. Please stay safe. Please stay calm.